I'm Sue Robotti, and I'm the founder of MedShadow.
Hi, and I'm Jonathan Block. I'm the content manager here at MedShadow.
Just recently, Jonathan was at a health journalist conference where one of the topics we found very interesting, and that is, how do you know that you can trust the content of an article in the newspaper, in a magazine? How does a consumer know? And Jonathan, what did you learn?
Well, it was very interesting because the panel that I was listening to, one of the editors at healthnewsreview.org, which we're very fond of here at MedShadow, was talking about this. And it's true, you are inundated with all of these articles that seem to say, oh, this drug does this, or this supplement does this, and you really have to read into the article a little bit to find out whether you can actually believe what's being said. One of the first things you want to know is if the article is based on a study, how exactly it was powered. Did it actually have a substantial number of people who were involved in the study? If it was a study looking at a particular medication, was there a control group, as in a placebo control group, that sort of thing. So those are some of the basics right off the bat.
But one of the key indicators that you maybe should think twice about an article is when the headline says breakthrough or new discovery or cure. There aren't that many breakthroughs in medicine. Medicine is a science of increments. We learn a little bit more and a little bit more.
Right, no, it's interesting that you bring that up because this is an actual article that I believe it was on NBCnews.com that the editor from Health News Review brought up, was something that had to deal with, it said, cure for kidney stones discovered on roller coaster, which of course sounds very, very interesting. And it was
I would click that article.
You definitely would,
yes.
And it was actually a very interesting study that basically these researchers, they made a kidney out of some kind of plastic that's supposed to replicate what an actual kidney is like. They put in a substance that's very similar to a kidney, brought it with them on a roller coaster in Orlando, which is incidentally was where the Association of Healthcare Journalists conference was. And they noticed that after a few times, the kidney stone, the fake kidney stone inside this fake liver actually started moving further down, as if that's a way that you could potentially get rid of kidney stones, is to go on a roller coaster a few times. And the way that the article was positioned has made it sound like that was a cure. In fact, it actually used cure in the headline. And you really can't say that something's a cure when you bring a plastic kidney on a roller coaster.
Well, by the logic of that study, a pregnant woman could get right through labor and delivery very quickly by going on a roller coaster, but I'm not sure her obstetrician would suggest
No, obviously you wouldn't do that at all. And one of the things that was mentioned during this particular panel is that you have to look at the perceived costs of a particular intervention. Does the article actually address that along the similar lines? If you read an article that seems to tout all of the benefits that we're seeing in a particular trial, you would want to also know, well, what are some of the drawbacks? What are some of the side effects, which of course our readers are very interested in what was going on there. How does this particular treatment or study, whatever was examined in it, how does it deal with current options that are out there? Because you could have a great new drug that comes out, but if there's so many different side effects, or if it's prohibitively expensive, how useful is it really? So the bottom line is that when you're reading one of these articles about a study, you should really have a bunch of questions in your mind as you're reading it, so that you could really determine whether this is an actual breakthrough or whether it's some kind of a study that's come out and perhaps whoever wrote a news release on it is trying to kind of spin the results.
core basis of any science is that it is reproducible. Any experiment should be able to be done again in a science class by students or by other scientists in another way. If it can't be reproduced, then possibly something was going oddly in the experiment, but it does mean it can't be taken as a scientific fact if you can't reproduce it. So many of the studies that we see it's the first time that's been studied, so nobody's tried to duplicate it yet. Or it's an outlier study. 9 studies or 99 studies showed X, but one study showed Y. So you do want to figure out, if you can, is this study that seems like a breakthrough study, is it really just an outlier study and it hasn't been reproduced yet, and it goes against what 99 other studies said? All things to keep in mind as you look at these wonderful breakthrough world of medicine articles.
Right. The other thing that's also important to mention is that, which is what I like to say, is follow the money. What I mean by that is whenever I write a story, for example, for the news section of our website, I want to see who's funding it. Now, if it's funded by, for example, the National Institutes of Health or a university, I find that a little bit more plausible. But when I look at a study that I'm going to write about for MedShadow, and I see that there's something that says this was funded by a drug company or perhaps some sort of an association that maybe has something to benefit out of a positive outcome, first of all, I'm going to mention that in the article, and then secondly, I'm going to look at the study results even more critically. Right.
Scientists who are being paid by a company that might benefit by the results of that study doesn't mean that the results of the study are invalid or useless, but they must be seen in context and with those parameters around it. Good.
Exactly.
Any wise last words? Because I think we've covered everything.
No, I mean, just as I was mentioning throughout our conversation today, is that, really when you're reading these articles, don't just take what's written in the headline or in the first paragraph at face value. Really read through the entire article, and if there's a link to the actual study or the primary source, I would encourage you to go in, click on it, and just make sure that you have a full picture of the study, because frequently in articles you're only getting a portion of what the study found, and you might be missing out on a lot of other important information that might actually undermine what is in the article you're reading itself.
Good. Thanks, Jonathan. We'll have to send you to more conferences.
I hope so. Thank you.
And please go to our website at www.medshadow.org for more information on the risks and the benefits of the medicines that you take.